The computers of the 60s were the size of small apartments. Their use was strictly rationed, and only a few people got anywhere near them. Still, a visionary psychologist at MIT, J.C.R. Licklider, known to all as Lick, saw their growing potential.
The computer technology has been moving in a way that nothing else people have ever known has moved. Here's a field that gets 1,000 times as good in 20 years.
In the beginning, long before we had any thought of what the internet would grow into, we had nothing. After years and years of working and developing technology, we now have modern computers and the internet. No matter where you look in today's age, the internet surrounds us all in every conceivable way. It's changed humanity, and there's no way to turn around now.
But before all that, in 1891, Nikola Tesla described his idea of the first known wireless system that would allow for only wireless transmission across the Atlantic Sea. He would later finish a completed view of this system in which he could transmit energy signals and radio across longer distances. In more recent history, the origins of the internet cannot be contributed to only one person. A collection of engineers, scientists, and programmers all worked together for decades to utilize a new and unique form of technology. In the early 1960s, the idea of an intergalactic network became popular, in which it could connect computers from around the globe.
It had never been done before, and people forget what that's like.
This was going to be unbounded in terms of the applications.
It had the potential for really revolutionizing the computing industry.
People very often ask, did you visualize all this? Did you plan it? No.
As the 60s progressed, so did the initial uses of pre-internet computers, and especially ARPANET, the Advanced Research Projects Agency Network, in 1969. Communication devices were greatly advanced for military purposes using wireless transmitters. Then we asked, or more specifically, J.C.R. Licklider asked, what if we can work on the same item while using different computers? The way computer systems changed and only improved helped the world as newer developments were made. ARPANET, credited to be invented by Licklider, allowed for control over a specific computer network. This later introduced the uses of TCP addresses. With this, it became even easier to access and find specific networks or individual computers. In this time, Sputnik was launched and early space travel grew vastly. On the ground, life changed too.
We're never disconnected, we're always on the grid.
The fathers of the internet, Vint Cerf and Robert Kahn, are viewed as some of the most important people in creating what we know today as the modern internet. In the 1970s, their work led to TCP and IP addresses. The allocation and navigating of digital information came from TCP and IP. Now, thanks to them, we can seamlessly transfer data from one device to another. But that's only a small part.
So, how exactly did the internet change the world? Well, let's first start with the overall changes the internet had on everyday life. One of these huge changes was the large increase in personal computers and how they became common among households. During the 80s and 90s, as computer networks grew in size and obtained a standard way to communicate with each other thanks to the internet, personal computers started to become more and more popular, eventually fully replacing the typewriter. Compared to the typewriter, these personal computers had more to offer, were faster, more efficient, but they were still pretty loud. After the invention of the internet, many companies scrambled to adapt and take advantage of the possibilities that the internet introduced. Whether these companies manufactured computers, programs, or internet networks, they all showed just how much of an impact the internet had on the electronics industry. These companies include, but are not limited to, Apple, Microsoft, IBM, Commodore, Atari, and Radio Shack. Unfortunately, not all of these companies are still running today. As the 80s and 90s went on, the internet only got better. Even though it was a brand new thing that mystified many people back then, it quickly grew and became widely used by many. The use of emails and the transmission control protocol, both of which used to only be used in the ARPANET system, became widely popular and consequently caused an explosion of activity on the internet. From 1986 to 1987, the number of hosts on the internet grew from around 2,000 to around 30,000. However, the growth of the internet did not stop there. In 1990, a man by the name of Tim Berners-Lee, who was working at a European organization named CERN, developed and invented the World Wide Web. The World Wide Web combined the technology of computers and internet data networks to create an easy-to-use global information system that allowed easy access to information in the form of a web page. The web would only grow as time passed. In 1993, the Mosaic browser was released, revolutionizing the World Wide Web. The Mosaic browser offered an easy-to-use point-and-click interface with text and images that allowed users to easily navigate the web. Many users of this browser also found out how easy it was to create their own websites, increasing the number of web pages from 130 in 1993 to more than 100,000 in 1996. More browsers that were made later in the 90s, like Internet Explorer and Netscape Navigator, only made the web more popular, eventually gathering around 10 million global users. During these 2 centuries, the internet went from a curious idea to a worldwide phenomenon. The internet completely changed how the world worked and communicated, leading up to the present day.
With the ever-growing conversation around how the internet has and will change the modern day, let's look back on the past 2 decades to truly explore the explosion of expansive innovations of international interest. Part 1. Communication. People like to talk a lot, so it's no wonder that once the internet had established a global network, people began socializing with each other immediately. This drastic shift in the way people communicate becomes much more prevalent when considering how globally a majority of Gen Z and millennials, around 65%, communicate with each other more often digitally than in person. When was the last time you texted someone? Today? Yesterday? If the answer to both of these was no, then you're in the minority. In 2014, the average number of texts one person sends a day was 18.7, and the number has only been growing. Apps such as Discord, Instagram, Snapchat, WhatsApp, and the Words with Friends app have expanded the variety and efficiency of online communication. In modern times, rarely do teens ask for each other's numbers anymore because there are just better communication apps on the market. The online presence of teens and young people grows each year, and with their presence comes content. Part 2. Content. You can find anything on the internet if you try hard enough. Anything. Ranging from very good educational entertainment to my manager is advising that I do not mention on camera. Oops. Sorry. I'll stop saying. But seriously, just think about how much content is on YouTube alone. According to Statista, as of June 2022, more than 500 hours of videos were uploaded to YouTube every minute. This equates to approximately 30,000 hours of newly uploaded content per hour. The amount of content on YouTube has increased dramatically as consumers' appetites for online video has grown. In fact, the number of video content hours uploaded every 60 seconds grew by around 40% between 2014 and 2020. Keep in mind that this is without considering the countless other platforms, newsletters, blogs, and forums on the internet. According to Health IT, in 2020, the amount of data on the internet hit 64 zettabytes. A zettabyte is about a trillion gigabytes. That's roughly 1.125 times 10 to the 12 megabytes. Much of this content makes the world an all-around better place. The amount of knowledge one could obtain within a few seconds today is greater than that of a scholar studying for his entire life 100 years ago. People across the globe can bond and share ideas, leading to the formation of many innovative groups like online charities, support groups, research institutions, and 4chan. But because of how open and limitless content can be, many harmful groups have been able to form and flourish as well. Such groups include 4chan, neo-Nazis, fascists, politicians, sadists, crypto bros, and redheads. As more people spend time on the internet making and consuming content, one force always manages to infest and consume every waking second of our lives: capitalism. Part 3. Capitalism. Don't you hate it when you're watching your favorite YouTube channel and all of a sudden you get interrupted by ads? Do you have too much money? Then buy Nothing today. Produced by only the most talented craftsmen, Nothing is not just a product, it's a lifestyle. Purchasing Nothing not only provides rent, food, and financial security for independent shop owners, but it's as easy as 3 clicks, and your Nothing will arrive in 200 to 300 business days. Don't know if you have enough money? Just check your online banking app and see how much money you have on your card. Isn't that so much easier and safer than all that pesky physical cash? So what are you waiting for? Buy Nothing today. Of course, ads were around before the development of the internet, but ever since the explosive increase in online activity, companies are shifting their eyes towards a new, younger demographic. These companies invade every corner of online activity, from watching funny videos online to reading about how the creator of said videos is a racist lunatic, and the ads themselves are just as invasive. According to the New York Times, today's data providers can receive information from almost every imaginable part of your life. Your activity on the internet, the places you visit, the stores you walk through, the things you buy, the things you like, who your friends are, the places your friends go, the things your friends do, and on and on. This invasion of privacy is terrifying to think about, but many people still don't know about this. It's because of this data tracking that ads you get online seem to be so targeted towards you specifically. And no, Your phone or computer are not listening to your conversations, but because of how much companies can track, it sometimes seems like it. If you are older than the age of 25, heck, if you're older than the age of 15, you probably don't need me to state how much the internet has changed life on a global scale, because you have and are living through it. So what more is there to say? The internet will keep growing and evolving until the AI overlords eventually eliminate us all. But before then, let's truly appreciate life in all of its digital and non-digital glory.